Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to our Monday morning trading session. Just a moment here as I get you my monitor. The market just opened up and we're seeing a little bit of activity hit the floor. You can see here on my Falcon chart that the overnight was non-existent. The market pretty much taking over from where it left off last week. And all of Friday's session was very much sideways. There was not a whole lot going on the end of last week. A slight bearish tone to start the day. Oh, we're actually getting a first micro macro cross signal here already on our hawk. I might look at taking this maybe as a runner. Oh, no, now we're into yellow bars. So it looks like they haven't settled on a direction yet. We'll give them a few moments here to sort themselves out. You see here on our eagle, we also see this sideways congestion. We are producing a red bar buy, which tends to be a pretty decent signal. Okay, so we just flipped the ATR over. Oh, come back here a little bit. No, they just ran away on me. I was trying to enter, or perhaps enter above that bar. And Trade Manager won't let me do that for 1%, so I wasn't able to take advantage of that move anyhow. Not at the lower risk amount. It's too bad because it's looking like it's having some pretty good follow through on it. Well, once again, it's just the opening minutes. The NQ has been very cooperative out of the open of late. All right, we're getting a first micro macro cross signal now here in the hawk. It's not giving me a real warm fuzzy feeling. It is a high probability signal. Oh, it looks like I'll be able to take a second push off of here. I was going to say I'd like to enter above the high. But the problem is if I enter above the high, you can see I've pretty much given up my entire profit objective before I even gain entry. So I was a little bit slow on that one too. Oh, they're just flashing signals everywhere at me this morning here. Come on, Eric. All right, so we're getting a trend change signal here in our Falcon, also a higher probability signal. This one has also already tripped, but I do have an opportunity to take it on a second push. I probably would want to risk it somewhere down there. That's a little bit steep for a trade at this hour. All right, that I can live with. We'll hold the stops for a little bit. You see we're back near the top end of Friday's trading range. You see here. This is why I'm not all that keen on jumping on that trade, but it was a trend change signal. The first micro macro cross worked out just fine. Here we are taking the trend change signal, looking for a little bit of follow through here. Again, the market moved a little bit too quick for me here to get a good entry or a better entry. The soybean market, a little bit on the quiet side. We're also getting a trend change signal here in soybeans. This just occurred. The market is into the hard edge, however, on the Eagle. And you can see there's quite a bit of congestion going on here as well. I am a little bit late on this signal, but we could probably take it here, cover it. Can I cover it above there? Yes, I can. I can cover it right above this swing high. So this gives me a lot of staying power on this trade. So if soybeans are going to tail off today, then that gives me a great place to cover this trade and tell me that, yeah, sorry, you're on the wrong side of the market if we get above there. Okay, now here on the NQ, we engage the market. I'm looking for the buyers to come back. Once the buyers come back, it looks like this is one bar. Give me one more bar. I could go a little bit more aggressive and go off the failure of this bar. Come on, get up there. Just give me one more bar. That'll confirm that the buyers have control of the market and it's time to get a lot more aggressive with my stops. No. All right. I'm going to take it. The idea is that if the market fails here, then the buyers no longer have control and the sellers are going to have control of the market. This might prove to be a little bit too aggressive. We'll see. So now we'll see whether the ATR stop would have held me in, whether in fact I was a little bit too anxious on that trade. When you take these first signals out of the gate, it's always a little bit of a gamble, right? Because there's very little structure and the market will be moving very quickly. Sometimes you'll be lucky and you'll catch a little move, but the rest of the time I prefer to be a little bit more aggressive. If it's going to work, great. If it's not going to work, well then I need to pack up my toys and go somewhere else. So far it's looking like the ATR stop would have held me in. Now let's see whether or not this actually gets some follow through, or if I was better taking my loss early. Yeah, it looks like the ATR would have just got tagged. So in this instance, it was a good plan to roll the stops up early when the market was showing some buying pressure here. You can see our Geiger counter very bearish at the moment. A lot of selling pressure in the market. As we come back into the hard edge on the Raptor and the Eagle, crude oil a little bit awash this morning. Also pretty sideways. This is the Eagle with crude oil. And you can see Friday's session a little bit of a roller coaster. And then today, an attempt to rally the market, but not much follow through on that at the moment. We'll throw that back on the shelf for now. Hey, what a mess. So a little bit of some conflicting signals, possible macro pullback here on the Hawk, hard edge bounce on the Eagle, and maybe a trend change on the Falcon. Okay, thank goodness the Hawk went into yellow bars, so I don't need to worry about that at the moment. Oh, and they are coming back with a trend change signal. All right, we'll do it your way. All right, trend change signal to the downside, possibly a late filter entry signal, which is encouraging. The downside on this signal is there's no real trend here yet, right? So we're pretty much relying solely on the DTS signal here to keep us on the right side of this market. Okay, so this trend change signal is now reversing. I'm going to cancel that. And our buy signal here on the eagle is going to flip the ATR here in a moment. Once it turns the ATR over, I will look at taking the next bar as a signal bar. All right, well, when it does that. Had an early trend change signal here on the Falcon. See, we had our quick little up, down, up. The signal printed just as the bars were flipping over. Oh, shoot. Looked away for a moment, and we got our signal here on the eagle. Let's see if I can still catch it. Oh, I didn't want to go in quite that heavy just yet, but all right, we'll leave it alone. It's a little bit more aggressive. I was looking to dial down my risk amount, but the market brought me in before I could make any adjustment. The reason is, once again, there's no real trend here just yet. The market could just as easily head lower as head higher. We did get a buy signal. We got a buy signal here on the Falcon, an early trend change signal right here. Our up, down, up signal prints just as the trend line changes color. That's why it's called an early trend change signal. When you do take an early trend change signal, if you take an early trend change signal, you need to keep your stops back a bit because chances are you're going to get a proper trend change signal. So the traditional trend change signal has the move that changes the trend line color, then we have the counter move, then we have the with trend move and the signal. The early trend change signal develops so quickly, you need to anticipate this part of the signal, right? If this market's going to head higher, it's going to develop into a proper trend change signal and then give you your larger up, down, up. So you need to be prepared for that move against you. Come on now, don't just keep going sideways on me here. Is it quarter to the hour? I bet you that was, wasn't it? That was a 6:45 signal. All right, crude oil getting a lot more aggressive here now on the eagle. Also printing a with trend signal. We're currently against the ATR. So what I would like to see is the market turn the ATR over. Let's see, could I even take the signal the way it prints? Oh, I could. We'll let this one simmer for a couple of minutes, see if it actually prints a signal for us. So it's going to print a signal 59.77. This is, again, a much more aggressive posture. We are currently against the ATR. In fact, what you might want to do is just take it above the ATR if you wanted to gain an earlier entry. The problem with a market like crude oil is the price tag, right? It's going to be really difficult to cover some of these ranges and still keep a relatively tight stop. Oh, crude oil tailing off a little bit. We might be getting a trend change signal here on the Falcon. So here's the down move, here's the up move, here comes the down move. No signal printing just yet. But if crude starts to head for this 59.50 area, 59.47 on our median line, 59.50 here on the low, that would be sellable. All right, well, we'll just kind of keep a lookout for that. Oh, major heat on the NQ trade right now. Into the hard edge. Come on, get up there. All right, I would very much like to see this swing and head higher, well, for obvious reasons, but it would also give me an opportunity to say, okay, the buyers are digging in, and now it's time to start buying this market up. Mixed bag of signals otherwise. And like I said, this was a much more aggressive trade down here on the Eagle due to all the sideways action that we've been seeing. Oh dear, here they come. Get up there, you stinkers. No. No. They're going to tag me here in a second. Boy, the buyers have got to dig in hard or it's game over. Here they go. Yep. All right, well, the one valuable piece of information is that it does not seem like the market wants to rally today. So let's see if we can't pick it up to the downside. So we're right back now. Might as well look here on the Eagle because it's showing us this information in the clearest terms. We're right back down here toward these swing lows, seeing a little bit of a bounce. We'll see if it doesn't come back with a sell signal now. So we had our first micro macro cross signal right here. Working on a trend change signal now with the Falcon. So we have our down, here comes our up. We'll see if they come back with a down. And we're working on our first with trend signal here on the Raptor also. Sometimes with the Raptor and the Trailblazer, it's just as easy to enter the order with your buy or sell market buttons as trying to place an order on the chart and then rolling it into wherever the signal might be printing. So if you get the Raptor printing a signal, you can hit your sell button. Usually your slippage shouldn't be too bad. At least not in a market like the NASDAQ. Oh, thanks, Michelle. Michelle has got her eyes glued to the crude oil market. She says there's a Falcon signal brewing here, and she's absolutely correct. So we're working on our trend change signal. Signal is going to print right here at 59.51. You know what? I think I'll give up the extra tick. I'll try to cover it above the high. Now, sometimes you need to be cautious when you're anticipating a signal in your Falcon because your Falcon can print two warning dots before it prints the triangle and hash mark. Remember, the triangle hash mark is the complete signal. So I'm taking a little bit of a chance here by parking this order. Now they're starting to retreat. So, oh, there we go. We got a green bar. Now, you could play this a couple of ways. One green bar doesn't necessarily negate the signal because we're still printing red dots. However, if we get two green bars, well, then I'm going to pull the signal for sure. All right, I'll just throw that up on the shelf for a moment. Wanted to see what was going on with the NQ, and not a whole lot. Still a very mixed up and sideways market. All right, so here's crude oil. We just printed the signal. Not bad. It's not unlike crude oil to give us a nasty slip. I know somebody was writing me the other day, and I'm sorry I forgot who it was, saying that they're experiencing huge slippage in crude oil. Now, crude oil, of course, is one of those markets that can slip you a lot. In fact, even in the room, sometimes we've had like 5-cent slips in crude. And for that reason, sometimes you may want to use a stop limit order in a market like crude. But I think his fills were exceptionally poor. And it's the kind of situation where you need to talk to your broker and threaten to change brokers. All right, come on, crude. You know you want to head lower. There we go. So should have no difficulty hitting our profit objective now. There we go. Very likely to fall here, at least to the primary support at 59.10. You could have used that as a profit objective as well. If you're using your support and resistance suite, you can see we took a nice little bounce off the primary resistance, settled here around the median line for a little bit, printed our signal. I would expect it to hit the primary support, get down here to 59.10, maybe even, what is this, about 59.08, 07, 08. Thanks, Michelle. That was a good call. Way to go. Our soybean trade still plodding along. The NASDAQ being less than cooperative this morning. All right, you guys, if you excuse me just for a few minutes, I'm going to go get a drink of water. I am going to be right back. Okay, what did we miss? Not much. All right, working on a first micro macro cross here now to the upside. Now I said the upside wasn't paying off, but we'll see what gives here. Again, the first micro macro cross, a high probability signal. Let's see if I can structure this in such a way that I don't get killed. Oh, you stinkers, you. All right. I would have preferred to have taken it above the high because we don't have a test of the extreme yet. I'm fishing a little bit, which is not always the best course of action. I have dialed down my risk amount, which is good. If they spank me here, it's not going to be a huge loss, but still, it's no fun taking losses, small or otherwise. Yes, Michelle is asking, doesn't the macro line pullback need to change color? I'm kind of taking this one as a first micro macro cross. You see, when this signal printed, I guess technically this was the first micro macro cross here. Everything just came into sync as the signal was printing, but it hasn't reached its profit target yet. So I'm kind of fudging it a little bit and taking this as a first micro macro cross. But yes, you're absolutely correct. It may have been wiser to wait for the macro pullback. That's why I said I'm fishing a little, trying to feel out the market, which way it's going to go. There's the macro pullback signal now, the micro line out of sync, everything else in sync. So I can prepare to get more aggressive with my bar high-low strategy. Now that we have a confirmed swing, I'd love to see another buy signal come in here. Then we'd also have a 4-arrow consolidation. Come on, just give me one more. Come on. Come on, get up there. Oh, you guys, you're killing me. Get up there. Well, the good news is the macro pullback signal tripped. The first micro macro cross signal tripped. Neither of these have reached their profit objective yet. Both are high probability signals. I'm confident the market will move a little bit higher here. The big question for me right now is, will my stops hold? Come on, get up there. Well, it's looking like if it fails at this point here, I might be on the right side of this trade, or have my stops in an adequate spot on this trade. If this bar finishes, there we go. Okay, now I definitely know my stops are in a good locale. Give me that fourth arrow. Come on. Get up there. Stupid market. Oh dear. It wants to go higher. It does. Believe me. It just hasn't caught on yet. Let's go. No, here they go. They're going to run my stop again. You stinkers. Okay, Michelle's asking, could you explain two pushes on the macro line pullback signal? I'm not sure exactly what I referred to there. Normally, this is all we need for a macro line pullback signal, is for the micro line to go out of sync, everything else to stay in sync. So this is definitely a macro line pullback signal. Sometimes, if I'm unsure of how the market is responding, because of course we don't have a test of the extreme here yet. This is the problem with this trade. I might take a second push on the entry. In other words, I'll let the signal engage, either let the bar retrace on the next bar or maybe even the current bar. Just watch it trade a little bit lower, then place my signal in or my entry in. In this case, we got a macro line pullback followed by yet another macro line pullback. So we had just a few bars in between here. All right, now I have my 4-arrow consolidation. So almost everything is in line here for the market to go higher, and yet it's not yet. Oh, you guys. I don't often reverse on a signal, but I tell you, this is one I would be very tempted to reverse on. Get up there. There we go. Come on, just give me one bar above there and we're golden. That's not too much to ask. Come on, you can do it. Soybeans still plodding merrily along. Just about to hit our break-even target. You can see I haven't really adjusted my stop yet. I could roll it to break even at this point, but it looks like the market's probably going to continue to fade somewhat and find the break-even target on its own. Unlike the NASDAQ trade, which is turning my hair more gray than it is. Get up there, you stinkers. Well, like I said, this is the type of signal I don't reverse on a lot of signals, but I would be awfully tempted to sell this failure. Again, no direction to the NQ this morning. That's what's making it especially difficult. Signals are failing higher and lower. And now we're into yellow bars. Get up there, you stinkers. Nope. Well, the NQ doesn't want to play nice today. Here's the YM on the Raptor. You can see the same sort of mess going on here. Nothing tradable. I'm thinking the NQ is going to take a back seat today. It will probably loosen up this afternoon. When the morning sessions are like this, the afternoon sessions tend to become a little bit less range bound. But what I wanted to show you is, okay, here's Friday's high. Is that Friday's low? No, this looks like Friday's low. Okay, so there's Friday's range. Now let's take a look at where we're trading today. Oh, look at that. We're within Friday's range again. So here's the highs, here's the lows. In fact, if I ignored Friday's low and just went with the range itself, look at that. So the smart thing to do when you recognize that the market is range bound is let it get outside of that range. It's going to get out, it's going to retest, it will produce a signal. Let it get out, retest, and produce a signal. That's what the smart people are doing. The rest of us, you're just going to end up chasing your tail, getting whipsawed. Might be able to scalp a trade here and there, and you might get lucky enough to even find its profit target. But how often do we see a first micro macro cross, a macro pullback, and a 4-arrow consolidation fail? And that's a rhetorical question, by the way. Even in choppy markets, first micro macro cross signals, well, technically it's here, but that one didn't trip. So this one here, they still rally enough to find their profit objective. Here's a macro pullback signal which failed. That would make me think, okay, the market's no longer willing to go higher. It's going to go lower. So here's a first micro macro cross lower. Okay, great. That worked out. And now we get, no follow through, no macro pullback, no green bar sell. Instead, we come back with a buy signal, which also fails. Now we're getting a red bar buy. This will probably have a little bit of a follow through to it, only because we've got something resembling a test of the extreme now, and there will be a little bit more buying pressure, I suppose. Neil asks, he says, last week you stated someone uses a 2-tick trail to trade. For my curiosity, can you explain how they do that? What size tick bar they use, which market, etc.? I don't remember exactly the reference, Neil. A lot of times when I'm in a trade, well, here, let's just put a trade on and you can see it looks like the market's going to head a little lower here. So let's say I take a sell order. What you might have heard was this bar high low strategy. A lot of times I'll go 2 bars back, 2 ticks off, and that is a very aggressive stop strategy, and it will continue to roll the stop so long as the market is moving in your direction. That's about the only reference I can think of. Actually, I won't put that on in case we get a real signal here. There's a lot of ways to trade. There's a lot of ways to generate signals. And signal generation is very sexy. It's a lot of fun. A lot of people think if I can only produce or eliminate my losing signals, if I can only throw, one more filter on my chart to filter out a losing signal, then I'll have it made. Then I'll never have a losing trade again. And instead, what ends up happening is your charts end up looking like this. This was actually somebody's chart. And they couldn't produce a signal. I asked them, okay, well, show me how you're producing a buy signal. They couldn't do it. So I said, show me a sell signal. They couldn't do it. I know we've, had a couple of stinkers this morning as we were trying to feel out the market. But even though we had a couple losing trades, we managed to keep our risk exposure very small. So even though we got spanked a couple of times, it wasn't the end of the world. Here's another student's chart. This is how the chart he was using to trade, and he wasn't having a whole lot of success with it. Personally, I don't know how you can trade that. There's just a little bit too much information on there. Too much information for the average person to decipher. Okay, so they're tempting us with a trend change signal to the downside now. Here on the Falcon, we're getting comparable signals on the Hawk and Eagle also. Now again, this is a market without trend. I've dialed down the risk amount. If you choose to, throw an order in just to see whether the market has settled on a direction, that's fine. At the end of the day, it is your money, and the trade might work out, but as I stated before, really the best course of action right now is just let the market get outside of this range. Once it does, it will produce a signal. And once it breaks outside of this range, you may actually see it drift back into the range. So it'll try to catch some of the early sellers over here. Likewise, if it tries to get out the top side of the range, it'll catch some of the early buyers here, and then it may drift all the way back into the middle. What we're looking for is we're looking for commitment. We're looking for the sellers to come down, break out of this range, retest, show us that they're serious about selling, give us this portion here, and then it will come back with a sell signal. Looks like this particular move working out not too bad for us at the moment. But it is a little bit like throwing darts. You see we even got slipped a tick on our entry, which tells me that there's not a lot of market participation at the moment. Look at our filter. It's all over the place. Our trend line is like a roller coaster. Is this a high probability signal? Yes. Does that mean it will never fail? No. We're not out of the woods yet. Come on, tap that break even. I dare you. I double dog dare you. Look at that. They're just hovering there. Okay, finally hit the break even. Finally hit the profit target. Wow. They're brutal today. Okay, one for the good guys. First micro macro cross signal printed here also. Very quickly, I might add. Had the yellow bars, came back with a first micro macro cross. I was already watching the Falcon, but hopefully you were able to at least have enough time to consider that. Look at all these signals we had fail to the upside. The first micro macro cross, two macro pullbacks, a 4-arrow consolidation, and a red bar buy. Wow. That's all our signals. Each one of the buy signals failed. I don't think I've ever seen that. All right, we may have committed to a direction now on the NQ. We'll see. Yes, Neil makes a good observation here. He says with the bar high low strategy, it works. It'll work well without using a target because it takes you out on the first sign of weakness. And yes, that's absolutely true. I should use it a little bit more often that way. even on some of these signals, like the first micro macro cross, had I had my bar high low strategy, my initial stops would have been right about here somewhere. And then the market is up 2 bars, my stop's still there. No, I would have been stopped at the initial placement. The next signal, my stop would have been right here. So that would have stopped me early. The next signal, stop there. 1-2 bars, roll up a little bit. Stop there. Next signal here. That one would have got tagged there, and then the bar high low, or pardon me, the bar high low. Red bar buy would have been here. And then the first micro macro cross lower, which you would have had to be on your toes, because all this time you're looking for buy signals. All of a sudden you get yellow bars and a red bar buy. Red bar buy. And then a first micro macro cross, you would have been stopped. You would have been stopped right down here. So yes, I would have made up for, well, it would have at least made up for most of your losers there. It is a very good strategy in that respect. It does, as Neil points out here, it does take you out on the first sign of weakness. What I tend to do sometimes too is I'll begin with a more liberal strategy, and once the market starts moving in my favor, I will adjust my stop strategy to something more aggressive like the bar high low or the parabolics in an attempt to retain more of the open profit. I like to try to give the market a chance when the trade is first starting. Neil asks, what would the Hawk scalper settings be on the Raptor? Well, the Raptor, don't forget, is a combination of the other 3 birds. So it has elements of the Hawk already, namely in how the bars are formatted. It has elements of the Falcon, which has to do with a lot of the signal generation, and elements of the Eagle also in the filter and in the band. So it's not simply changing the settings. Now, if you wanted to produce more signals on the Raptor to make it more sensitive, you would go to your data series and you would dial down your brick amount. We recommend an 8-tick brick for most markets, but you could certainly dial that down. Let's say, I don't know, let's say 5 ticks, and you're going to see that it's going to generate a lot more signals here. As soon as it loads. So it does increase the sensitivity of the tool. And you can see the follow through is adequate, at least enough to find a high probability profit target. Oops, I gotta find where my Geiger counter goes. I think it's up here. There it is. You can certainly play with the settings. The Raptor is by far the most tweakable of the tools. The other birds have the programming pretty much locked. You can change the bar size, but the Raptor does give you the ability to alter some of the internal elements also. If you go to your Raptor and you go to your indicator panel, this is on your Raptor now, you can see that you can adjust your cloud size. You can make it more or less sensitive. Your filter, you can again make more or less sensitive. Even with the Raptor, you can make some adjustment to how the bars are printing. So the Raptor does offer you a little bit more customization than you will get on the other three birds. Neil is asking, I noticed that the 6-tick does generate more signals. What do you think the cloud and filter should be? Well, my personal preferences are toward the default settings. But again, you feel free to experiment. I really haven't experimented outside of the default settings. So long as the default settings are generating reliable signals for me, then I'll stick with those. The only time I tend to make changes is if all of a sudden I'm taking signals and I'm getting a lot of failures. So if I start getting a lot of these where I get a trend change signal and the trend change signal is late, my band is late, or perhaps my filter hasn't swapped color yet, then I'll look at it, and if I'm getting a lot of these, if I get one or two, that's an anomaly. And very often I'll be able to catch it by some other means, either by one of the birds, or usually more often than not, I'll see a test of the extreme and then a signal print. We did get a mini test of the extreme here, but it would have been hard to pick up. So if the Raptor is your sole trading tool and you're going back through your Raptor and you're saying, and the best way to do this is to find the big moves, right? You're not usually so concerned about missing a little move, but if you get a big move, you get a signal, but for whatever reason, the signal wasn't all in sync. So here, okay, the filter's in sync, that's okay, but my cloud is out. Was there another cue or clue that would have told me this market was reversing? Well, I didn't get a test of the extreme. Like I say, if I get just the odd signal like this, it's an anomaly. The market was either moving too quickly or something happened that the Raptor didn't print. However, if I'm getting a lot of signals like this, then I'll look at my cloud and I'll say, all right, the cloud needs to be more sensitive. So I'll take the cloud down from a 12 to a 10. I won't make a major adjustment, but I'll make a minor adjustment like that. And then I'll look at it. And I'll say, all right, was this better? Okay, well, the cloud was a little bit more sensitive. It was starting to turn over. Maybe that would have been enough for me to capture that move. And same thing, you look at a signal like this. It had a substantial move to it. So I'll look at it and I'll say, all right, the cloud's in sync. The filter is in sync down here. So perhaps those settings are working well for me. And again, I tend not to worry too much about the smaller moves, but it's the larger moves that I'm looking at. I want to make sure I'm getting a clear signal. And if for whatever reason I'm not, well, then I'll consider tweaking it. And usually a couple of ticks here and there is all the tweaking you really need to do. But if I'm producing decent signals off of the default settings and there's just the odd anomaly, well, then I'll stay with the standard settings. The problem with tweaking is that you lose your baseline. You get to the point where you don't have, what should my standard settings be? What should my defaults be? Yeah, like Neil says, the Raptor seems to be late sometimes with that cloud flipping over. Well then, like I say, by all means, speed it up. If the 10 still isn't fast enough, then let's dial it down to an 8. Okay, the 8 is looking a little smoother, definitely responding a little faster. But those are my reasonings for making changes to the defaults. Ay, ay, ay. So we get outside this range. We're coming back now to the median line, which I do believe was toward the bottom end of the trading range. Need to see the sellers recover. Need to see the sellers come in here, or this market's just going to drift right back into the middle of the trading range, and we will lose anything resembling a trend. Our hawk into yellow bars. Ay, 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 folks. What a nasty session. Everything is just all mixed up here this morning. Well, not much going on right now. You can see they're starting to drift a little bit high here. Not too late for the sellers to recover, but they better do it sooner rather than later. Crude oil pretty quiet also. Yeah, it's just everybody's gone flat right now. Okay, they might be working on a trend change signal here to the upside. I'm not convinced yet. We did get the early trend change signal back here. Right, we had the test of the extreme, the little bit of a bounce. Look at that. They came up short of the profit objective. Oh, they're just brutal today. Well, the hawk looking a little bit more bullish. We are getting a first micro-macro cross signal here, a buy signal. We're into the hard edge, of course, on the eagle and the raptor. Does this even resemble a trend line? No, not yet. Geiger counter definitely bearish right now, but you can see even here it's waffling back and forth. Spends a little time in the green, a little time in the red. Ay, 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 ay. I still have my risk down to 1%. Can I risk it all the way down there? Oh, I can too. I'm tempted to look for a little bit more out of this profit target rather than just the high probability target. Again, no follow through anywhere here today, or very little follow through here today. Ooh, Michelle says her hawk didn't even print a hash mark, a triangle hash mark, where I got entry. It might have been a good thing, Michelle. Sometimes if the data is out even a few milliseconds, it will cause it to print ever so slightly differently. Now that should not be a concern, because if the signal is actually following through, in other words, if it had printed another tick higher, yours probably would have printed the triangle and hash mark. This is just brutal trading today. Good news is we are narrowing in on a rather important juncture for the market. So we'll see if they come back now with a sell signal from here. That will tell us that the sellers pretty much have control. If the buyers recover it from here, then we'll know that the buyers have control. So we have our up, here's our down. We'll see if they come back with an up now. If not, if they go down, up, down, then you can sell with confidence. So we're getting to that point where the market is slowly working themselves into a corner. Okay, so here comes the down. We'll see if they come back with an up and a down. They're going to start waffling again. All right, well, I'm only going to give them a few more minutes. If they don't smarten up, then there's no point in spending much more time watching the paint dry. Well, they pretty much got low enough. They're going to see the buyers come in here now. Right, because buyers are going to be looking at this sort of thing. They've supported the market here. They're likely to support it here. If the buyers recover here, they're going to produce a buy signal. Unfortunately, the Falcon trend line has flip-flopped already. But it might come back and print a buy signal that we can actually take advantage of. No, nobody's moving this morning. It's not a holiday, is it? Is it a holiday? Nobody told me. The Eagle printing a with trend signal, a trend change signal. It looks like it's about to fail and head the other way, but you could enter below the low of this bar here. The low of that bar right there, probably cover above the swing high. So if we see a failure there, then that would be a good spot to sell. The Falcon printing a buy signal, but no real structure to it, I'm afraid, unless you want to treat it as an early trend change signal. Could do that. Nice thing about these kinds of orders is that even though the probabilities are not there, because the market really doesn't have any direction, or if I had to choose a direction at the moment, I would say the direction is down. But the nice thing about a signal like this is your ability to cover it below the lows. Right? So if the market reverses, trades now below these swing lows, well, then you can say with a lot of confidence, yes, I was on the wrong side of that trade, and that is the right place at which to exit. But that's about the only thing you have going for yourself for the way these trades are shaping up. Yeah, okay, see you, Joe. Joe says, good day to go apartment hunting like I'm doing right now. Yes, it is not the best day to be trading. And if you are I think the plan of action would be just grab whatever you can get. Don't look for any substantial moves. Just get in, get out, grab a couple of dollars. Be happy with that. All right, we're seeing a little bit of movement. Great, we got to our break-even trigger, and a couple ticks more, we'll get our profit objective. Maybe. Once again, there's nothing wrong with, 50 bucks is 50 bucks. It's like if you're walking down the street and you see a $50 bill on the sidewalk, will you stop and pick it up? If the answer is yes, well, there's a $50 bill laying on the sidewalk. I think I shared with you guys the trader who I met a few months back. And I wasn't at this person's house because they were a trader. I was there for a different reason, but I noticed they had the setup that traders do. And so I asked him, and he said, yeah, he day trades. Now, he doesn't actually day trade the way we day trade. He trades stocks, and he'll check them every day. A lot of his positions he'll hold for several days, so that technically does not make him a day trader. But in his mind, he was a day trader, and that's fine. But of course, traders being traders, we want to exchange strategies and so on. And so I got talking to him about his trading methodology and so on. And he traded by feel. He traded by feeling. If he felt the stock, I should say this person, and I'm not knocking them because they were obviously very successful. So even though this does sound a little bit weird, he considered himself psychic. And so he would look at a chart and he would feel whether the chart was going to go higher or lower. And I suppose, maybe at the end of the day, that's as good a way as any. But what really became clear when we talked a little bit more, and I saw how he traded was his trade management. His trade management was second to none. He never let an open profit disappear. Whether he walked with $50 or $250 or $500, he always made sure he closed the trade with a profit. Now, that doesn't mean the trade was always profitable. Sometimes it would become unprofitable, but as soon as that trade became profitable again, he was very aggressive protecting that profit. And it reminded me of a little exercise I did in the trading forum when we still had the trading forum a while ago, where, and some of you will have heard this story already, but where I had somebody in the room choose a market. And one of the wise guys in the room said, well, trade butter. I wasn't going to trade butter with real money, but we did it on sim. And I said, okay, somebody flip a coin. Heads, we're going to go long, tails, we're going to go short. You know, to make it fair and above board that I wasn't in some way stacking the trades. Well, using nothing more than flipping a coin to buy and sell and trade management, I think we ran up about $1,500 in profit in butter over the course of I think it was a couple of weeks. So signals are important, yes, but they are not the be-all, end-all in trading. You need a high probability signal for sure. You know, here's a lower probability signal because it's an early trend change signal. But we do have the test of the extreme, the higher swing lows. Fortunately, this one worked out, which we weren't sure today because the way the market was behaving. But to stack the probabilities in my favor, I need to run a deeper stop. And then if the market started moving against me, you see how this one has a little bit of a tail on it. If the market started to move against me, and if I wasn't already at break even, I should consider getting to break even, or perhaps even punching out with the open profit that I have. Remember this trading person, this trading psychic who, you know, doesn't let open profit get away from them. I think there's a very valuable lesson there. How often have we had profitable trades only to watch the profit disappear? They said something to me that, you know, is very simple. We've all heard it before, but also very profound. Where he actually invests money for other people as well. And kind of a test that he gives people is he will say, if you have a position that is $50 to the good right now, or it will potentially be worth $200 in another week, would you take the $50 now, or would you hold on for the other 200? Well, you guys already know what he thinks the right answer is because I've already told you a little bit about him. But for those people who don't know, you know, try to think back, what would an honest answer have been on your part? Would you take the $50 now, or if you could have $200 in a week, would you hold on for that? If you're honest with yourself, I think a lot of us would say, I'll hold out for the $200. But of course, the $200 is not really there, is it? The $50 is here and now. I was listening to the radio the other day, and I don't know, it must be ratings season or something, because they're all offering these, they have these contests, and I'm sure it's the same where you live, where they offer huge prizes and whatnot. Well, this radio station that I happened to be listening to at the time was offering, they have a contest. You dial in at the prompt, you call in, and the DJ, you're in a draw for a brand new Jeep Cherokee loaded whatever it is. And the DJ is trying to buy you off. So you have a chance to win this truck. You're entered for a draw along with however many other contestants there will eventually be, whether it's probably 100 or something like that. Or he tries to buy you off right now. So I heard the one lady I was listening to, he started with $200, then he went to $300, and she said, no, I still want a chance to win the truck. Me, I would have held out because I know they always bid a little higher. The first bid, I've heard it a couple of times, the first bid is a little bit low. But if he flashed me $200, I would have been very tempted to say, yeah, okay, give me the 200. If he flashed me the $300, I would say, yeah, I'll take the $300. Now, the vehicle is probably worth $40,000 or $50,000, but I'm going to have a 1% chance to win that vehicle, or I'm going to have $300 right now. Which is more valuable to me? As an investor or as a trader, I appreciate the money that I have here and now, not the money that I can potentially have in the future. So I'm listening to this radio program, and it's amazing to me how few people take the cash. I guess they haven't really found the pain threshold for most people yet, where they can bid them up to $300 and they'll still balk at taking the money. I don't know if they flash somebody $500 if they would walk away from $500. Certainly if they showed them $1,000, I would think most people would not walk away from $1,000 for a chance to win a vehicle. But it's, I find that a very interesting concept, and I think there's something to be learned from that for us as traders. So, it's all part of the whole trading equation. Yes, we need to have a good entry signal. We also need a good way to try to stack the probabilities in our favor. We need a good way to manage our position, and we need good money management so that when we do take a stinker, it doesn't devastate our account. All right, you guys, if you are going to hang out this afternoon, oh man, I don't know. It is such a mixed bag. Right now, it looks like the market's trying to head a little higher on the Hawk and the Falcon. The Eagle, however, into the hard edge. The Raptor just about to turn over. You might almost be as well off flipping a coin today. It's paid off both ways and it's failed both ways, so I can't really say with any certainty, you're better off being a buyer than a seller. At the moment, we capitalized on a buy position, so maybe we should stay buyers until the market shows us otherwise. We're still in the better part of this trading range that we were looking at before. In fact, we may have drifted too high back into this range to even consider this breakout here to be valid. I don't know. Maybe Joe's got the right idea. Today's a better day to go do something else. Come back tomorrow. If you held, well, I don't want to say hold a gun to my head. That's a little violent. But if you made me choose, I think I would be more comfortable as a seller today. It's just sometimes if the markets don't want to go up, then they will go down. So there you go, for what it's worth. Crude oil still in a little bit of a tailspin. Soybeans still plodding lower, although they're in a little bit of a retracement phase at the moment. Okay, you guys, I will catch up with you again tomorrow morning. We'll talk to you then. Bye for now.